Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mahe Ramadh'an Reflections Part 12. A selected translation of Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi's commentary on Dua al-Iftitah. The result of knowledge is affection and intense love for God. Much of the content of supplications and prayers discuss knowledge of God. If love for God appears in a person's heart, it will pull him toward God, and in this case, there is no need for a person to worship Him out of compulsion and reluctance. Rather, in contrast, if he is unsuccessful in worshipping Him, he would become worried. Thus, the servants who have intense love for God think about performing prayers, supplications, and paying attention to God as soon as they even have a short amount of free time. However, if it is otherwise, it is inappropriate for us to imagine that we always serve God with our prayers and supplications, and that we are worthy servants in this sense. We deceive ourselves with these thoughts, because if a person really loves another, he does not wish to be separated from him even for a moment, and he would love to always be close to him and spend time alone with him. And if his beloved asks him to do something, he would pursue it for his pleasure, and he himself would always like to be by his side and not separated from him. Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, in the supplication of Arafah states, Ilahi, amarta birruju'i ila al-athar. O my God, you have ordered us to refer to the effects, as in His creations. Though God has given such a command, however, it is the heartfelt desire of the devoted servants to always be in a state of having an intimate conversation with Him. They seek His presence and ask Him for success, even though they are compelled to pay attention to material means and outwardly their hearts are disconnected from God. It is impossible for a person to love God and worship Him, but not to get close to Him. One who is not interested in spending an hour in having an intimate conversation and munajat, whispered prayers with God, what love does he have for God? Can we say that all our love and enmity, jihad, charity, and all other actions are for God, however, we do not love Him? Definitely not. If our actions are for God, it is impossible that we do not seek Him and consider an act more desirable than prayers. The intimate servants of God would wait to get a chance to supplicate to God for a few minutes in a corner when their social deeds and responsibilities were done. They would seek a quiet corner to speak in confidence to their beloved. They hear the response of God to their wishes and supplications, and this creates increased strength in them and doubles their love. Hoping and trusting God. Alhamdulillahi alladhi la yuhtaku hijabuh wa la yughlaqu babuh. All praise be to Allah, whose screen cannot be penetrated, whose door is not blocked. Wa la yuraddu sa'ilu wa la yukhayyabu amilu. Whose beseecher is not rejected, and one who hopes in Him is not disappointed. Of the matters that Dua al-Iftitah has brought to our attention is that God never turns His servant away from Himself, and never closes the door of His mercy upon him, and never makes him lose hope. However, this is on the condition that the servant goes toward God and puts his hope and trust on God. We may do something for others for our personal interests and then rub it in saying, I did this for you. However, we cannot act in this way with God, who is aware of our intentions and actions. If a person really has hope in God, then as it is stated in this supplication, La yukhayyabu amilu, and one who hopes in Him is not disappointed. If our hopes are disappointed, it is because we did not really place our hopes on Him, and that we did not take steps to perform an action based on this hope. If something is to our liking, we will make efforts to perform that act, but if it goes against our wishes or it is difficult and hard, either we will not perform it or we would be lazy in doing so. For instance, in doing something, if we have a means or an intermediary, we seek to perform it. Otherwise, we would not find it possible to do. Or if we performed an act in the hope of the support and help of another, and we're unable to find them, or they refuse us, we would miss them and become discouraged from performing that act. Even in our simple worldly acts, we look for a friend or acquaintance who can mediate for us. These all show that we did not place our trust on God, and God has not guaranteed to realize such hopes.